Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? Welcome to Delkim Live. A little bit later tonight. Sorry, I was just trying to sort something out and get myself ready for tonight. Hope you're all well and not going stir crazy. Hope you had a good weekend. What are we going to do today? So, the idea is that we are going to have a look at the history of Delkim. And I have done a little bit before, but now I'm going to hopefully do this a little bit better. So I've got some images and stuff and we can go through that, so people want to know where we came from, how we got to where we are, the transition from certain products to where we are today. So we're going to go through that. Also looking for your questions as well. You know, if you've got any questions you want answering, then that's what we're here for half an hour every weekday, or 4 days a week anyway, and we shall go through that. So just give people a chance to get on board tonight, and we'll have a look who our people are, or the regulars. Let's see. Let me just open up my little chat box and then I can see everybody. If you've got any messages, then please drop them on here. I just have a little say hello to you, look, and then you can get on it. So if you're one of our regulars, then hopefully you've been enjoying what we've got. If you haven't, and this is the first time you've joined us, then thank you. Been doing this now for about 3 weeks or however long it's been, and we've been doing plenty of stuff covering all sorts of information, from how to use products, differences, old stuff and new stuff. So not just been flogging the new stuff. It's been about looking at older products as well, because we know lots of people buy older products through eBay and come into fishing and may have switched from other brands and whatever else. So we're here just trying to give you as much information as you can, and then we'll see how we're doing it. So good evening to these people. We've got people on YouTube and we've got people on Facebook. Let's have a Dave, nice to see the begging of Delkim. Oh, bit of predictive text. But beginning, yes, we'll have a little go on that. Derek, hello. Hello to everybody who's been here before, and a hello to new people as well. So just a few little reminders on stuff, because if I keep saying it, hopefully you will know it, and people that don't. First thing, the app. Please make sure you download our app. Anything you need to know is on that app. And the good thing is that if you have that app, you'll also be notified, well, when I'm on, but you might not want to know that anyway. But also, obviously, because we're in lockdown, any updates to that situation, then we will, of course, be notifying people through our app. It gives you instant information, so you'll get notifications. But ultimately, that app is there to help people. It's got instructions, it's got quick guides, it's got videos, you can order free spares through there, you can book in returns once we get back up and running, you can find your local Delkim stockist, and you can also do your warranty on your new product. So it has everything you need on there, and it will be great. So I keep telling people, download that app. It's free. We've done it free, and it is really useful. Everybody that's been using it has found it very, very useful. Just to be able to get on, find stuff, instructions, whatever it is you need, whatever help you need, get that app. So it's free. What is the app called? Delkim. Just search Delkim in Google Play or in wherever you get your apps from, App Store. It's on Android and on iOS. So just look for Delkim. There's only one of us, and it will be there for you. Another bit of housekeeping. Again, get asked this all the time. All our hangers work with all the Plus range and all the digital ones as well. So if you're looking to update to the new alarms, you can still use your hangers, your illuminated hangers, Nightlight Pros, ES indication sets, slim light indication sets, and the new Nightlight indication sets. They all work with the old range, the Plus range, and the new range as well. So that's something I keep getting asked. And the third one I'm always asked is, if you have the new alarms, the new digital range, you will need new d-loks and new safeties. You need the V2 versions of the D-locks and safeties. And I'm going to quickly grab my little box of tricks because I hadn't thought about doing this tonight. Oh no, where have I gone? I haven't got it to hand. Oh, there we go. No. Man looks through box, can't find his bits. Oh no, I wasn't prepared for that. Anyway, V2. So the V2 versions are black. Okay, if they're got yellow on, this yellow band in here, that's for the older ones. So that's the original one. So again, the D-locks and the safeties for the older alarms will have this yellow banding on. The other ones will say V2 and they will be all in black. So make sure you do that. Okay, does the RXD receiver come with extended warranty? Yes, Michael Lane. All the digital range products come with the extended warranty. So you just register them, download the app and register them, and then away you go. So let's just make sure we've got some people on board before I kick off with what we're talking about tonight. Yes, lots of people. Oh, quite a few on YouTube. Hello, YouTube people. That's getting more and more popular, so that's good. The system works. Right. Without mentioning any other brands, will you be bringing out any other receiver devices, i.e. wrist alarm? Duncan Letham. Not in this, not thinking about anything like that at this moment in time. You know, we tend to make functional items, not gimmicks. That's where we look at. So if there was a good reason for having something, then we might look at it. You know, we've just launched a new range, so we're not going to be launching loads of new products anytime soon. You know, we're obviously going to keep trying to develop, and maybe not be quite so long bringing out something new this time, maybe not 15 years, yeah, so who knows what the future has been, but nothing immediate this time. I don't think, you know, a wristband alarm is something that we will look at. It's other people, leave them to do those little things. We'll stick with bite indication and trying to improve that and catch more fish. That's where we're at. So let's go on to what we're talking about then today. History of Delkim. So hopefully this works. And I will get this up and hopefully it works, or else, oops, let's have a look at that. Sorry, let's hopefully it's worked. Sorry, man's clicking the screen. Okay, let's see if this works. So we're going to transition to here, and then we're going to do this. There we go. Right. So back in the 70s, round about mid 70s, these two people got together. The one on the left is my dad. That's Del Romain, and the one on the right is was his friend at the time, fishing friend, King Donaldson, and therefore that's where the name Delkim came from. Both keen anglers, fishing locally in the Essex area. So my dad was from Romford, and lived in Basildon. That's where I was born, and then we lived Benfleet area. So Essex people. Kim was also Essex man. So fishing waters in that area, some big famous, well not big, but famous waters in that area at the time, and very keen anglers. Again, at that time you had people like Cliff Fox fishing. You had Kevin Nash all in that area. There was an area of fishing in that Essex part of the country where a lot of now brands that you know and are big brands came from that late 70s period, fishing those lakes, and people just started because it was a hobby. They wanted to improve something for themselves, make a bit of money to help pay for their hobby, bit of pin money rather than taking the housekeeping maybe in those days, and therefore that was really what my dad was trying to do. And what he started with was converting one of these. So if you haven't seen one of these, this is a Heron head. So late 50s, early 60s, the Heron head came out, and this was really the first commercial bite alarm. So it was Dick Walker sort of designed it, if you've heard of him. You know, one of the old anglers, one of the pioneers of carp fishing, really. And they produced this alarm, and it was very basic. It's just a little antenna. The line runs through there, and when the line pulled tight, it would make and break some contacts, and you'd get some sound. And it just went through an extension box, and that's what you would do. So my dad and Kim saw that, yeah, okay, this was okay, but it needed a little bit of pimping up and didn't quite do the job. So this is what they did. And it started off, they had made some little alarms for themselves at some point just to make that, but then they found that they could convert these. So they added LEDs, they made an extension box, as you can see on the left hand side there in Leeds. They improved the contacts inside, made their own little wire form. If you can just see to the right of the alarms, you can see there's a little wire there. It's about the best image I could get. My dad doesn't actually have any Heron heads, I don't think, anymore. We've got the other ones that we'll come to, but I don't think he's got those anymore. But yeah, we did them in different colours, red, green, yellow. We made a different antenna, improved the inside, improved the battery life, just generally pimped them up a bit and made them a bit more usable than they were. Blackened them up. They were different colours, but we had the black front, so we put metal on the front and just started. And my dad was not really from an electronics background. He was in the shoe industry. He was a manager of a shoe factory in the end. So really just had the forethought to try and improve things, and so did Kim as well. And then together they worked on that. We put the alarms together. Kim used to do extension boxes and leads, as far as I remember. I'm trying to wrap my own brain now. Even I was involved in this later on when I was about 5. So I was born in 1974. I think I remember drilling out cases for extension boxes and stuff. It certainly helped out on the Op Tonics. And used to make leads for about 50p for pocket money, I think. But there you got extension box and leads. So then you've got your Heron heads there that were adjustable, and that was really where things started for Delkim. We created the brand of Delkim. The logo has not changed since then, or certainly the graphic, the font, and that's where we came from. Also made sacks and slings as well. Used to make them. My mum used to help with them, and that was material that we had via the shoe industry, and we used to make sort of some nylon based sacks and slings that were, turn my phone off, sorry, again made to order, small fry really from where we are today. But then these came out. So these were Delkim Op Tonic. Okay, you might have seen these. I think Sundridge took them over, or how that played out. But there was an Op Tonic, and this was different in terms of it had a roller inside, and it had paddles, and it would have a light beam, and it would make or break as the windmill went round effectively, and the gap, it would make or break the beam of light, and then that beam of light would be detected by an infrared detector in the alarm. And this was quite a big step forward from where the world had come from with the Heron heads. So this was the Delkim Op Tonic, and again it had its limitations. It worked really well and was extremely effective, but it was quite hungry on power because it had a continual light source power, and it didn't last very long, killed the batteries. There was no speaker at that point. I think it used electric. I might be making some of this up, so bear with me. I'm trying to wrap my brain. But it had extension box and leads, the same as that, and they not necessarily at that point had put a speaker, so it was self-contained and had a speaker in it. So what we did, the royal we, what my dad did in terms of what we did is, if you look on the left, we put a speaker in it, and that was from the old telephones, GPO speaker, to give it some excellent sound. We put an LED in there, And the big thing was we gave it control there, so you got volume and the tone you could change. And inside, I can't show you inside because I haven't got one, but what we did was we took away the windmill, the vanes that were making and breaking the light beam, and we put a magnet on the wheel. So on the end of the spindle of the wheel, we put a magnet and a reed switch. And a reed switch is a little, for those that don't know, is a little tiny, very lightweight metal inside a glass tube. So when a magnet gets near it, it will make or break a contact. So it's very fine wire that acts as a switch as a magnet pulls and closes the two bits of metal to make a switch. That's very badly explained, wasn't it? But it used to make or break contact using the magnetic force of that going round. And that was huge, because what would happen is it would last, the batteries would last forever, because nothing was on until the wheel started turning. Literally would turn it on, because it would close the switch, make or break the contact with the reed switch, and then power up, and then away you go. So that was a massive step forward. And this product, you know, the Optonic conversion is really what kick-started Delkim and made its name. We'd done, you know, we made Herons and sold to a few shops, but they were mainly for, you know, small numbers. Suddenly, everybody was really keen on our Optonic conversions. Other people had done stuff. Other people had converted Herons, and other people. Les Bamford was another one at the time who had done, you know, quite a few conversions of the Optonics, but ours was definitely more, you know, energy efficient, shall we say, with the method that we used. And you know, we literally ripped all the guts out of it and used the case and put our own insides in. That's what we did to make it as good as it was at the time. Unfortunately, Delray didn't like that. They didn't like the idea of us modifying them. They didn't like the fact that we had got rid of their vane and the beam breaker and put a magnet in there, and they started to get a little bit tetchy with us. And we went, okay, so what can we do? So they wanted us to at least use the vane with the beam breaker and do that. So we went, okay, and so instead of just having a magnet on its own, we used the magnet on the end of a spindle with still the vanes going round. So what would happen is the magnet would turn the device on, then we'd have the beam breaker, and then it would work in a very similar method to how an Optonic worked, in terms of how they would just break the infrared beam. And you could increase or decrease the sensitivity of your Optonic or the Delkim conversion or whoever's it was. You have more vanes, more windmills, and the more you had, the more sensitive it was. So you get more beeps as it rotated. You could have 2, 4, 8. I think some people even made 16. You just pull the vanes off and put them back onto the wheel. So that's where we were. Unfortunately, Delray didn't like that either. At some point, we were actually buying them direct from Delray. They allowed us to buy them direct from them, and then to convert them, and we were selling them as conversions, but they were brand new in a box basically, and we bought them, you know, in bulk from them. And I remember drilling out the cases so that we could put the speakers in, and we'd seal them in. Anyway, cut that long story short, they took us to court. We lost for patent infringement. They did, you know, we lost the court case, which we thought we would win, but we lost it for patent infringement, and therefore we stopped making these in about 1986. Certainly the court case final decision was 1986. So that was the end of that chapter. You know, they were still popular. We used to have people come to our house. People would bring their stuff to us, and we would convert it, and then they'd, you know, come back later. So I'd still get lots of people going, oh yeah, remember coming to your house we were in Northampton at some point making them, and then we were, you know, in Benfleet, and when, you know, we moved up to Northampton way. So people came to our houses to have a look at that. extension box and leads still there. So what happened and what was going to happen next? Well, what happened next is we made our own, and that was a duration of about 6 years. So 1992 was when we first brought out our own alarms, and that's not quite the picture of the very first ones because they had slightly different livery on, but that is the first Delkim's own vibration alarm, and it took an awfully long time to get that right. We started, let me just take a little sip of drink. So what we had to do, because we couldn't use a wheel, because of the patent, they didn't want us to, no, we couldn't get round a patent of a wheel, so Delary had a patent on the wheel bite alarm. We thought, how can we do this? Or my dad said, how can we do this? And we decided to look at various different ways. Just as an aside on that, during that period where we were taken to court, Kim Donaldson had decided that he didn't want the stress of going through that court case. My dad wanted to fight it. He felt that we could win. He was advised that we could win, but amicably Kim decided to step aside from the business. Dad took it over fully, and they were still friends. Kim was still helping out on this. Unfortunately, he died how many years ago? Maybe, I can't remember now, maybe 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. Time does fly, so you don't forget, you don't remember these things. He had a brain hemorrhage whilst fishing. So he was fishing, he had a brain hemorrhage on the bank, and unfortunately by the time somebody got to him, it was too late, which was obviously very, very sad. But he did die doing what he enjoyed doing, which was fishing. So may he rest in peace in the big lake in the sky. But that meant that from doing that, we had to make our own bite alarm. So what could we do? And my dad was racking his brain as to what we could do to get over this wheel scenario. How can you sense line movement without a wheel? And what can you do that? And I'm just searching for something, so please bear with me, because that is quite an important thing that I'm looking for. I can find it. There it is. Right. And I'll come back to me in a second. And the big thing that changed everything, and I'll just come up. Oop. So that's what changed everything. Okay, and I have shown this before, but basically this. I'll use a golf tee. Sorry. So you've got, this is a piezo ceramic sensor. Okay, now you've got a little line guide there, and the wires, and it joins it in. Okay, so piezo is the same as you use on a record player. So that was the big difference. So what my dad had in a very famous incident that he's happily told many people, is that it came to him in a dream. So he woke up in the middle of the night and he decided to run downstairs, and he was not wearing he was wearing his birthday suit, shall we say, and he got a piece of line. He turned on his record player and the stereo, and he ran the line over the needle of the record player. Excuse me. And as he moved that line over the needle of the record player, the faster he moved it, the sound went up. So it went whoosh, and as he slowed it down, shoo. So he straight away thought, well, there's a speed relationship here. If I move the line faster over the needle, the sound goes up, and if that sound goes down, so must be able to do something with this, and therefore be able to sense the line movement of a bite alarm by using one of these devices. Well, yes, it could, but it took about another, it took 6 years to get to the point of where we were in 1992. It was a very long and arduous process, with lots and lots of prototypes and lots of effing and jeffing and going back to the drawing board and trying to get this and trying to get that. And the thing that swung it is that we were forever trying to mimic a roller buzzer or the Op Tonic. And everybody, well, if you're from a certain generation or you remember it, or you're using alarms now, when you get a flat out run on a roller buzzer, you tend to get what's called a one toner. So it just goes into a continuous tone. And we were trying desperately to replicate that, because we thought, well, we're trying to make something that is as good as what's out there. We're trying to copy that. And by doing that, we were actually making life more difficult for ourselves, because the key was that continuous tone was causing the problem with vibration on the sensor. Because what was happening was we were getting feedback. So when it was continuously going, that sensor was picking up its own sound, and therefore it was continually oscillating from the sound of the one toner, and we were disappearing up our own backsides effectively trying to mimic that. So then we had the idea of, well, hang on a minute, what can we do to stop that? Well, what we can do is pause the sampling of the signal from the sensor. So rather than keep picking up the signal when it goes flat out, you can pause it, put a break in it, and then recheck it again, rather than it keep picking up itself. And then we thought, well, how can we do that with one tone? Hang on a minute, why don't we have a different noise for a run? And then that was the warble. So that was the big eureka moment. And I'll... So that alternating tone that, if you're a Delkim fan, you love, that was the massive leap that allowed us to use the vibration. Because of it, the way it oscillates, it allows time to sample the signal from the sensor, decode it, and then the sensor can start picking up the line again, and you don't get the feedback that we were having problems with. So that, the warble was the big eureka moment. Not only using vibration was the eureka moment, but then being able to do the warble, not copy what had already gone before, but do something unique in two areas, both vibration and this warble, that allowed things to move forward. And there we got to where we are today. We launched the standard alarm with vibration, the first fully vibration alarm, in 1992. Okay, so we then moved on slightly. I have got more pictures. So of course, extension box and leads were the only way. So we had our extension box and lead, the Mini 4, Mini Deluxe extension box. Used to do singles, 2-ways, 3-ways, 4-way leads. That was how you connected it. Everything draped across. If you're new to fishing, you probably don't even know about boxes and leads. I don't think anybody does extension boxes and leads anymore, do they? I'm not quite sure. We discontinued ours a good few years ago. There might be some that are there for some people if you've still got posterity, but wires traipsing all over the bank. It was the done thing, but life needed to move on, and it did. So we brought out our first radio system for that 1994. So 1994. So it was a little plug-in transmitter that went into the bottom of your standard alarms. Had a little rat's tail of an aerial, quarter wave aerial that came out the bottom, and a 3 LED receiver. So the RX2000 was our first ever receiver. The TX2000 plug-in transmitters went with the standard alarms. They plugged in the bottom, and then you had yourself a radio system. I'm not sure whether we were exactly the first to ever have a radio system. I think Fox might have had a radio system slightly before us, but it was for us to design one for our own product. So we brought out our own radio there. We plugged in, and then We improved things slightly by getting rid of the rat's tail and having an aerial, a little short coil aerial in the plug-in transmitters. In that one, just to neaten it up. And then this was the big move forward. So this was the TXI. So 1996, we released the TXI. So that's our first fully radioed bite alarm, integral transmitter. TX integral is what the TXI stands for. So, and that was our super top of the range bite alarm. And you can see there it also has a blue LED. We were the first company to bring out blue LEDs in our products. So that the RX 2004 receiver had 4 LEDs to cope with that. You could have up to 8 alarms in that, so 2 in each channel. It had power saving. Again, power is always something that Delkim has been strong on. So even from the Heron heads to the Op Tonic conversions to today's alarms, power consumption has been our goal, to reduce that as much as possible. Get the most out your batteries has always been one of the USPs of Delkim's products, and we've never ever stepped away from that. So this was our first radio alarm, so the TXI. Some of you still might have one of those hanging about. You know, this was the the big step forward for us. Just moving forward again, there's the 2 receivers. So you can see we made them both until we changed to the Plus range in 2003. You can see there, volume control plus and minus switch. Used to have it was a power saving feature again. Low was saving power. Oh, can't remember now. Might be the other way around. High scan, low scan. No, that's it. So low scan, it would just turn on and off, switch on and off at a slower rate. So you might miss the odd beat, but you would always get a run. And high, if you wanted everything to pick up, you put it in the plus or the high, and it would continually scan, so it picked up everything that you wanted. Probably a range of about under 100 meters at that point. That's what it had. Just another one there, just showing you. You used to use beta lights in there now. So we used to sell those, so little isotopes that used to fit in the front. That's what they had. Oh, there's another picture of the blue one. I haven't necessarily gone through these, filtered them as well as you could. And then we also brought out white LEDs, and we were the first with the white LEDs as well. So we added white to the range. So we, again, super bright white and super bright blue LEDs is what we had, and then the sort of self-coloured red, green, and yellow was where we were at. Then we did this. So this was the Plus range. So 2003, we brought out the Standard Plus. This was the upgrade from the old range. So it had twin LEDs. You had a push button on the front to change LED brightness. We brought out purple. So purple LEDs. Again, we were the first to have super bright purple LEDs in our products. Again, you had still the vibration sensing, still the great battery life. We added a few more features on this. Night marking was the big thing. You could now, the LEDs would glow on ever so gently, so you didn't need the beta lights. You could change the brightness of the LED, so you had 3 levels of brightness, and you could have the night marking on and off. That was part of it. And oh, where are we? I've gone too far. Hold on, bear with me. And that was our first receiver. So we had a RX Pro, which was our first receiver. That's not the 5 LED one. There you go. Sorry, I thought that was a 5 LED one. I got the wrong picture. So our first one was an RX Plus. So that was a 5 LED one. So it didn't have the yellow LED. We didn't have the yellow one on it because we did away with that because we brought the purple out. Literally the same as we're about to launch the product. We found purple LEDs. We sourced them. We thought, right, people will want purple. So why not give them what the people want? And we then went straight in with a 5 LED receiver. We took the yellow out and we put the purple in its place. We then developed a 6 LED receiver within a short space of time thereafter so that all the LEDs could be on there. but we'd already made the 5 LED. We took the jump, we got rid of the yellow, and then we brought the yellow back with the RX Plus Pro receiver, which is what that receiver is there. So that was a big step forward. We've made our own radio modules. You know, this is in 2003, so we're talking I've got to do my maths now. 16 years ago, 17 years ago. So we went from using a off-the-shelf module on our old radio system, and now we developed our own radio module that we added to that. So it was much better performance than what we had previously. More range, over 200 meters of range. Better battery life, 6,000 hours battery life in that receiver, because it just had much better software in it that allowed it to work and function. And we, again, all about battery life with our products, getting the most out of your batteries with all products. Don't forget, a receiver is like a telephone, mobile. It never knows when the call's going to come, so it has to be awake enough so that it never misses. So we have lots of patented software in our products that allows the receiver to wake up when it's needed, not miss a bite, but also really, really keep that battery drain to its absolute minimum. One of the other big step forwards with the Plus range was that we introduced the nightlight socket, and that meant that we hadn't quite finished them at the time, but within a year or so, I'm trying to fill in some blanks. I know when the Nightlight Pro came out, but we launched the Nightlight, which was a electrical cable, Kevlar reinforced cable, overmolded plug. It just was a body, and you added your own line clip and weights, and it was our first illuminated hanger that we made. Fox had made one on an arm, and we made just a hanger that you'd plug in, and it proved to be very successful. We knew what we were doing. We had a socket in the bottom, and that launched our whole range of illuminated hangers then that we've all seen today. I've done a video on our hanger range, and that was the very first one you're seeing there, which was an electrical wire. It wasn't, at the time, it was the best we could make. We then looked at what we could do, and then I'm just making this up as I go along, but then we'll come back. Hold on, I'll go and find my bits, if I can find it. Dun, dun, dun. Where's the other ones? There it is. There it is. Oh no, I can't find it. I really must tidy up. Excuse me, hold on. But I've only got one of the newer ones to hand. I don't know where my older ones are. Very sorry about that. So that was a wire, and it was as good as it could be at the time, but it had its limitations. It's got a bit bendy. It wasn't necessarily as robust as we would have liked, and it would have been great to make something that was a lot stronger. So this is where we are today. So that's our Catflex cable assembly, and that is a spring over the top of a wire and a wire trace in there, so it gives it strength, and it's much stronger. This is a slim light, so it's got the slim one. In 2008 we brought out the Nightlight Pro, which I cannot find for love nor money in the tray of bits, so that would have been the first one, and that's still going today and still sells well. And then the ES indication set, then the slim lights, and then our latest one, which is I've got those to hand. So then we've got our nightlight indication sets, which are our most recent incarnation, which is again with the slim, it's got a weight stuck on there, which is the slim cable assembly. The Nightlight Pro and the ES indication set have got the slightly thicker cable assembly. And then of course this came. So this is the TXI Plus So the TXI Plus came out about a year later, probably about 9 months. We had a few technical issues, which meant that instead of launching the Plus range all together with the standard Plus and the TXI Plus, we pressed the go button, told the world, and we found that we had some technical issues, which meant us, working ridiculously hard to try and resolve a problem. We could still sell the standards, but the whole world wanted the TXI Pluses, and the phone was ringing, and people ringing up, when's it coming out, when's it coming out, when's it coming out, and then when it came out, when's my order, when's my order, when's my order. In the end, when we actually launched this, we literally just shut the phone off, put it on answer phone, and just worked flat out just to get orders out. I remember doing it with Rob, my stepbrother, who works as part of the family, because it's a family business. Just to reiterate that, Delkim is a family business. It's Delramang, it's his wife, that's my stepmum. Unfortunately, my real mum, who was part of that business, died in 1998, unfortunately. But Dad remarried, so Carol's stepmum is part of it. Her sons, who were family friends anyway, Mark, Paul and Rob, they all work. My sister works there. So it is a true family business and will continue to be for who knows how long. But that's and that's why we have that family ethos of what we're doing. So the TXI Plus came out with the RX Pro receiver. There's one in the flesh, and that really kicked everything off. We'd sold quite a few of the first range of alarms, but nothing like this. This absolutely skyrocketed. People with the first range that we did, it's kind of a best kept secret. People knew that vibration sensing was really good, but people kind of, there wasn't social media, there wasn't the way of telling the world, and it was a bit more under the counter kind of stuff we were selling, and word of mouth, and that was going round, and it was limited, but people knew they were good. But then suddenly, when we brought out the Plus range, everything just skyrocketed, and the popularity of Delkim products became huge, and we've got to where we are today because of the popularity of this TXI. TXI has always been our biggest selling product. We have a standard. We then brought out an EV, which was a lower range one. 60 quid as opposed to 122.50. What that was. TXI has always been the biggest selling product of what we've made, and again, it will be now with our latest incarnation, which is the TXI-D. So that's where we've gone from to the new range. I've done lots of stuff on this, I'm not going to go, but we are now right back at the forefront of technology with the TXI-D and the RX-D and the EV-D. There had been a long gap, and we had been working on the new range for 10 years. So the concept had been way back in 2009 of what we wanted to do. And so then, we knew we had to change, but it took way longer than we thought it would to recreate the sensing method that was in the TXI Plus in a digital format in this product, because we had to make a digital version to work with our brand new digital radio. So this was an analog radio, so it's an analog system. It's a mixture of analog and digital because there's a digital code, but it's analog radio to this receiver. But the new one's completely digital, so that was the big time and effort that went into doing that. So hopefully, I've been chatting for way too long, probably. Hopefully that gives you some idea. Let's just see if anybody's got any questions. Sorry if I've been rattling on, probably talking too much. There's still people watching. Wow. Let's go back and see what people have been saying. Michael Howstones, who learnt all the electronics then? Yes, as I said, my dad wasn't an electronics expert, but he got a man in. So, you know, we had some contacts with people who could do that. He knew what he wanted, so he's very focused on, I want it to be like this. You make it like this. And in terms of our first our first standard alarm, many times we've been told you can't do it. You know, we've been told couldn't do radio, couldn't make a digital one, couldn't do you know, all these things at every turn. We've always been told, you know, can't do it, or it can't be done like that, or it can't. And I have to say, my dad is fairly relentless in his pursuit of what he wants, and therefore he got the people to do it, and in the end they did it. That's really where he came from. So yeah, you know, the ideas came and he got them done. Let's have a look. Oh, there's lots of questions coming. I'll do questions for a little bit then. I'll work down these, so hopefully you give me a little bit. Why haven't you... This is Matthew Wilkinson. Again, I've answered this quite a few times in a lot of videos, but I'll answer it again because it's always good to know. Why haven't you included the option to change the colour in your alarms on the newer models? The reason why is that because of what we have in our alarms, so as I mentioned in bringing out the Plus range, we brought in night marking. You can't have night marking with RGB LEDs. You cannot dim them low enough and retain the quality of the LED. So let's have a... have I got one on there? That's probably not the best one to show. But we have super bright, clear LEDs. And the quality of the colour of those LEDs is far superior than any RGB that we've seen. And plus they're small. We have 3mm. There's no 3mm RGB that has the, you know, the quality of colour that's available. And I'd say, trust me, if we could have one LED that we didn't need 6 models, we would do it. But you can't have it with night marking because as soon as you dim it down, the colours disperse, so you lose the colour. And also because we've got 8 levels of brightness, you can't have that quality of brightness as well. So there's a number of reasons why the world hasn't invented an RGB that is to our standard. When it does, I can assure you we'll probably include it in our products. Okay. Let's have a look what else we got. What else we got? Any more questions? Was there more at the start? Let's have a look. Hello from Germany. Hello everyone. Sonic Mason, do you still do the Delkim t-shirts? Yes, they will be. There's some in stock. When we get back up and running. I can't say when we're going to do that. Let's have a look. Michael Lane. On the TXI, if you turn the volume to 0 and turn the volume up on the RxD, will you still hear the alarm when you get a run? Let me read that again, just so I'm getting that right. On the TXI, if you turn the volume to 0 and turn the volume up on the RxD, will you still hear the alarm when you get a run? No, because the volume's to 0. So it goes to absolute 0 on the alarm and it'll come through on the receiver. So really, if you're using the receiver, that's what you do. So you can turn the volume up on the alarm if you want and on the receiver, but you can turn it to absolute 0 so it just comes through the receiver itself and you don't have to annoy anyone by doing that. Let's have a look. Yes, Tim Cartmaster Tadgel. I bet well nervous when bringing out a product. Yes. My God, when you've made something, well, the longevity of our products is well known. Okay, so the first range lasted 11 years. Again, that's probably more down to our slowness of being able to develop stuff or our fastidious nature of making sure everything's right. I don't know which one of those is the thing, but you know, we search for perfection as best we can, which is why it takes a long time for us to get a product to market that we're happy with. There have also been products that haven't come to market, various accessory ideas or hangers or things that we just, no, that's not good enough. It's never going to work. Or, you know, we get ideas and get to a certain point and then you don't. That's R&D. But yes, and the Plus range, okay, the Plus range, the radio was the big step forward because the alarm was similar. We added some features. We knew that was going to be okay. The radio was the big step forward. There were lots of issues in trying to get that radio right, our own radio module, as opposed to the one that had been in the old RX 2000 and 2004. That had been a big step forward. So again, that took a lot of backwards and forwards and testing and and trial and errors and just getting it right. But again, the new range, wow, yes, you're putting your whole reputation on the line. It takes a long time to build a reputation, and it can take seconds to destroy it. And yes, I would think we were bricking it, knowing we knew we had a good product at all points. We knew that the new range was brilliant, but you don't know how people are going to perceive it, what you think and what other people think might not. And it takes time, and it took a little bit of time for people to start to really believe in the new one. I think it was a shock. People had wanted a new product from, a move forward from the RX, from the TXI Plus for a long time. We keep, when are you going to bring a new one out? When are you going to a new one? Other companies bringing out new ones. We wanted to tell the world it wasn't ready. We wanted to make sure it was right. Even up to the last minute, we were making sure. And still, you are scared, but you have to cover as many bases as you can, and I think we've done that, and we've been very pleased with how the new ones have worked in terms of the reliability. They have been absolutely superb. Unfortunately, everybody's not fishing now, but we had launched them on the wettest conditions. I think since June till we got on lockdown, it had been pretty much raining most weeks and really heavy rain, and they have been bomb-proof. Less than 1% back of everything we'd sold, and it went ballistic for the first few months, and then sort of settled down just to a manageable rate, but still quite a lot. So yeah, we're very, very pleased. Thank you, Duncan Lathan. It's been brilliant, nice. Thank you very much. Let's just finish up then. So I've gone on way longer than I thought I would, but I've chatted away. You got me going. Let's have a look. Didn't you thought of putting the antenna of the alarms on the thread? No, because then you've got a risky point of damage. So, and if you've got the d-loks, then you can't do that. We've got the antenna slightly outside the alarm to get maximum range. If we could have had it inside, we would, but to get maximum range and get the performance that we wanted from the product, we had to have it there. We can't. There wasn't any room to have it up here because of the LEDs, so we had to make a compromise. But it sits no lower than the d-lok, and the bolt, it's absolutely fine. Doesn't get in the way. We improved that from the old TXI, which sticks out a bit further and can sometimes get in the way, which is why the d-lok was helpful, because you can align it better. More questions. Why don't Delkim sell direct? Because it's a very limited market. Then the shops can do a much better job for you than just selling direct. Once you start selling direct, you are really then cutting off your wider audience. Unless you've got a huge brand, if you start then pulling it from all retailers and just wanting to sell direct just to make more money, then that's a tricky one. You've got some balls to do that, and you're going to alienate customers. Perhaps you're going to alienate shops. Shops support us, and we support them as much as we can. So that's why we should continue to support shops as best we can, and we are doing during this lockdown period. We're making sure that we're not crippling shops that are in financial difficulty, and we shall be supporting them during this time as well. That's it, I think. Let's have a quick any more. Did you show the new TXI first at the North Anglia show? Yes, that's when we launched it last year. We rushed it out. We just got them. We were running out of time to do anything for the shows. We showed it at the Northern Anglian show, and then at the big one. We were a bit previous on the Northern Anglian show. We hadn't got any proper marketing together, but we wanted to show people, and that was the big launch. Last question, Tom Cotton. Hello, Tom, competition winner or quiz winner. Should I be taking batteries out of my alarms while on lockdown? Yes, I would definitely remove batteries if you can. It's always good to take the batteries out if you're not using them for any length of time. One, it stops if they leak, or corrode, because sometimes when they corrode, then the battery might not be damaged now, but in later when you take the connector off, it will could corrode through and damage, or if the battery leaks, then you're going to cause problems. So I think we're through. So thank you. I hope you found that of some interest. I'm going to have a think about what I'm going to do for tomorrow night. If you've got any suggestions of what you'd like to know, please let me know so I've got some inspiration. I'm trying to keep these going for 4 days a week for half an hour. I've gone on for more than... I could have broken this in two, couldn't I? I've gone into an hour's worth on this. If you want to know anything else, please let me know. We'll come back to you tomorrow. I appreciate you being part of this Delkim family and me being able to talk to you guys. It does feel good to have an audience to chat to for my sanity, and I hope all this is of some benefit to you. I appreciate your company. Cheers, guys. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.